Choice is an amazing and powerful word. It's really important we have choice as individuals, and everybody that owns a company or is part of a company is that business, and those choices give you freedom.
One of the problems I think where people try to wrestle with their chaotic brain is that in order to do that and to become from a centered, balanced, knowing space, loving space, is actually quite hard when you're, in that chaotic space, because you've got to wrestle the beast. You've got to change the onboard computer, and there's a journey to go through there.
It's always as we come to end of life, we really think about capturing our life story. And yet really, it should be every day when we're being present with this gift of life.
What you bring to the room is what the room gives back. The energy, for me, that defines the kind of the energy. What you bring is what you get. Welcome back to Build with Dean. Today I've got the fabulous, lovely Heather Carter with me to have a really interesting conversation around energy and brain and heart cohesion, involving meditations, affirmations, probably chanting. It's a conversation that we haven't planned, we haven't scripted. We're just going to see where it goes. We both have something we want to share with the world, with an audience, and just have a conversation around that. So hopefully tune in if you want to try and get some nuggets of wisdom of how you can perhaps attract and align better in your life, then listen up. So Heather, thank you so much for joining me.
You are so welcome, Dean. So welcome.
Do you want to give us a bit of an overview about what you're doing, some of the things that you're involved in? People will know what I'm doing, what we're involved in, and then we'll kind of morph it into this conversation around energy.
Okay. So a bit of background is, I've been in business for 40 years, but never worked a day in my life. And I've been a value creation specialist, which really means, in the most simplest language, I have loved every second of helping businesses in the UK and internationally to grow their beautiful businesses, to help them to flourish and to give them choice, really. Choice to either build to grow or choice to build to exit the business. Because choice is an amazing and powerful word. Yeah. And it's really important we have that choice as individuals, and everybody that owns a company or is part of a company is that business, and those choices give you freedom. So that has always been my love of my life. But at 63, which is an amazing age actually to be, just love it. At 63, my definitive purpose is to give forwards and to contribute to humanity and our beautiful planet, and I don't separate them when I feel them,
Sure.
And we have been on this incredible journey over the last few years, my husband and I and our amazing team. And it started with when our parents, sadly, we'd already lost my husband Simon's dad, but we had my mum and Simon's mum and my dad still on this beautiful planet. They've all now passed over from this beautiful earth. But at the time, my mum had 2 strokes. My dad had Parkinson's dementia, the early stages of it, and so did Simon's mum. So at the time, I gifted them with a diary, which was like a journal of your life, and it had lots of questions in it that you completed, and you put all the amazing family history, your photos in it, and it was just amazing. And the outcome of gifting that beautiful journal, that beautiful diary, was my mum never started it. And I was due to go, well, I'll share in a moment about my mum actually, but Simon's mum started it, but we realised that some people need encouragement to finish it. And your life story is so precious to pass down to future generations to come. I was very fortunate as the only child that my dad actually absolutely filled this diary with family history and all about his life. And I learnt more about my dad when he passed than when he was here. So I had a real treasure that I could gift and then pass down. I've got 7 grandchildren and a great granddaughter, and I have got this beautiful treasure that then I could pass down through my family. So it would never be forgotten. My dad would never be forgotten. The history would never be forgotten of our family. And for my mum, as I was coming up to 60, I was due to, because I live in Spain, I was due to go back to spend some time with my mum and actually capture our family history. But sadly, 2 weeks before my 60th, my mum passed away. So I never want, and you can't say never want, that's the wrong word, but I had such a loss that I don't want other people to feel like that. Because it's always as we come to end of life, we really think about capturing our life story. And yet really, it should be every day when we're being present with this gift of life, really. So that's how Capture was born. And we realised that actually at some point the photos would fade, the writing would fade because the font would fade. So how did I capture that? So we looked for an app to transition this beautiful diary into, and we looked for about 15 to 18 months, something like that, and we couldn't find one. So we decided to put all of our personal investment into creating one.
Yeah.
And it was and has been an incredible journey. So we started that journey. We did lots of research. We put a lot of investment in it because I love money. It's an energy. And it means the more wealth that you earn, the more you can gift forwards to people you care about, to amazing businesses, to humanitarian and planetarian projects. It's just money is all about that to me. So the reality of it is that I always knew in my heart that Capture would be what I term as a B2C, B2B app. Yeah, I always knew it. I was just waiting for the gift from the universe of the download, because it's all about the timing, yeah? So we had put so much money in, we'd had different experiences with developers, and we met an amazing gentleman who is the owner of an amazing CSR accreditation called Richard Collins of CSRA. And I spoke to Richard originally, that came through an amazing gentleman that I've never met. That's how the universe brings us all together, you know. And he said, speak to Richard, I think you'll get on amazingly. So I did. And of course, I spent my life growing companies. So I was speaking to Richard about Capture at Home and how potentially, how wonderful would it be if employers gifted Capture at Home to all of their teams. So that they had a beautiful, because it's an app, you know, so they would have a beautiful, secure and private platform, not a Facebook, not a social platform, where they could capture all of their beautiful memories that have been created, and where they could have this private network where all of their loved ones, their family, people they meet on holidays who are part of those memories, they could invite them to contribute to that memory. And from that memory becomes your life story. And that's so precious. So we've been very present. And just as importantly, it was so important that people had a safe space, that when we lose our loved ones, we need to grieve. And we need a safe space so we could look and relive those beautiful memories in this beautiful safe space in Capture. But we can also leave wisdom. Wisdom to our children, our grandchildren, but to generations to come who will follow in our footsteps. And they can see and hear us and feel our energy, because we can capture all of this in Capture through videos and leaving beautiful messages and our life story to future generations to come. So I was talking to Richard about all of this. And Richard was explaining to me about CSR because I wanted to be educated. And I wanted to be educated because I'd started that path. I started to learn the complexity of it, really, and I needed to simplify it because I knew how valuable it was to my clients. Because yes, big companies have to do ESG, environmental, social governance. They have to do the reporting. And SMEs are part of that supply chain. And, you know, we knew that one day that would all filter down, be it from government or large corporates, large enterprises, into the SME sectors, you know, to demonstrate their CSR, their corporate social responsibility. So I asked Richard to take me through the accreditation because I'm not an academic, I'm not an intellectual. I'm somebody that has to feel the experience and believe. So I went through this beautiful accreditation process and I fell in love with it. It did two things for me. One is enabled me to reminisce about the past, things I'd forgotten about that we'd been part of and contributed to, and I don't say that with ego. And secondly, of what we could do for the future, how we could give forwards. And then I just saw this on a mass scale, on a global scale. How wonderful would it be for businesses? Because the majority of businesses, and I'll talk about the SMEs, but the majority of businesses, the large corporates are doing it, and the government sectors are doing it, the agencies, and the NHS trusts are doing it. But let's just talk about the SMEs. How wonderful would it be to be able to take those SMEs on that journey? Because they're already doing good. And how wonderful would it be for them to go through the CSR accreditation, to be recognised and rewarded for the good they do? And how amazing would it be to connect them to like-minded people who are socially conscious, who want to do business and have partnerships with like-minded people? Because to me, that's growing with purpose. And that's an
Sure,
incredible energy. So now we
sure.
have Catch You at Home, and we're just about to launch Catch You CSR for businesses
Fab.
in the UK and then across the world.
Awesome. I mean, so a lot going on, lots of energy going on there, and lots of good for businesses to do there. Thank you for that. It's a really good overview of what's going on.
You
Um,
will?
so, and the conversation I want to have today is also around energy, um, but also what. So the channel that the audience that we have, if they're listening, it's Build with Dean would be building something, would be doing something of greatness and whatever that means to each person. And I have loads of conversations, Heather, around CEOs and people in general. It doesn't have to be a CEO. Like, if you're trying to do anything, then you're expending energy to try to do something. And sometimes we can just live in this chaotic headspace.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you and I are two people that lead from a heart space or try to. And everybody gets drawn into chaotic headspace. And you actually need to manage that. For me, there's ways that we do that and we go into that. And so I want to have this conversation around, you have an energy coach on your business as an energy lead as well.
Simon
So
Baker.
you share the same thing. So I want to have this conversation. So for me, like if I haven't wrestled myself every day in the morning, if I haven't gotten over myself, then that has an impact on my day because we're doing a lot of things. So it can be, so you can every day go through this chaotic space, and that can have an impact on how we think, how we feel, how we act, and how we interact with the world, right?
Yeah,
Um, so, and we don't often talk enough about things that can help with attracting, aligning, and achieving. And that's the conversation that I want to bring to people, that we can have that conversation. And it's not woo-woo, and it's something that the top sports people and the top CEOs will do and will do very effectively, which is managing this and finding balance and finding that energy in everything that they do, um, which is very much a skill set. So I want to talk about some of those things that people can do and what you've experienced, what you've done in the past, and I could talk about, things that I've done and what's important as well, around how you do that, how you tackle that beast, and what goes into that. So um, I don't know, maybe you want to share. I know that you have done lots around energy and meditation and chanting, which is something that people would see as um, not everyone would do, should we say? So share us a little bit about what you've done or what you've experienced or how you tackle that.
it's a big question, that, you know. That's a big question.
Well, I figured you like me, you've been around a little bit, so and I know that you've done a lot of stuff in this space.
Oh, well, where do I start? Um, let's go with this flow. So for me, I'll share something with you. Maybe this might bring it to life. If not, we can share much more.
Mm,
But many years ago, we were office based, way before COVID. And every morning, I used to go into the office about 6 o'clock. We used to go in, the doggies used to come with us. And I used to sit at my PC, just going through beautiful quotes. So many hundreds of beautiful quotes. And I did it because it was, for me, there's been so many people that have travelled this earth that have left so much wisdom, so much fantastic energy. So I used to sit there, and then when I would see something that really connected with my energy and made me feel amazing, then I always had the feeling I needed to share that with others. Yeah,
yeah.
because it made me feel amazing. I thought, if I can impact one more person today that feels this energy, that would be amazing. So this started being a routine for me. So I would choose a quote. I would sit maybe for 1 hour or two. It used to vary. I used to wait until I could really connect. And I would also sit within that time of thinking how I felt about that quote. What was the energy that was moving through me when I sat there, reading that beautiful wisdom, really? And then I would share on a message how I felt because it made me feel amazing. So it started where I used to just start every morning with my team, sharing the quote and the energy that I was experiencing when I sat with the quote. Yeah, the wisdom, let's say the wisdom. And then for some reason, I never know where these things come from. It's the universe. And then I started sharing it with friends that were head of HR, friends that ran their own businesses, and I would share it with maybe 30 people. So it started off as my team, and then it started to have its own energy. And I did this for maybe, I don't know, 3 years, maybe 3 years.
Mm.
And then I had a phone call one day of a friend called Louise, an amazing woman. And she was head of people for a very large corporate. And she phoned me one day and said, Would you come, Heather, to our quarterly? No, she didn't, sorry. She said, Would I go and meet with the HR team? Okay. And it was in Leeds, I think, at the time. I might have that wrong, but I think it was. And I never questioned why, you know. And she said, I've got a favour to ask. Now, I shared with Louise that during that 3 years, and I used to send Louise every day the quote with the energy that I was experiencing. And I did that for 3 years. And I'd also shared with Louise in conversations that I started to meditate every morning with my team. And we would meditate because, my greatest teacher of wisdom is Simon Bailey, and Simon has taught Simon and I and our team and our friends and family so much over the last 20 years. But I started to introduce from the teachings from Simon into our business. So I would meditate and we would just sit in that space. Okay. And I shared this with Louise, and Louise said, I would love you to come and meet my HR team, and I would love you to do a meditation. So I would never question it because Louise is my friend and I would just do it. But truthfully, I was really nervous, really nervous. I didn't know who was going to be there. It's different when you do it with people that you know. Yeah. And I remember speaking to Simon Bailey about it, saying, I'm really nervous about doing this. Now, you shouldn't be because it's just a meditation. Yeah.
Mm.
But I was. And that was an energy that was moving through me. And Simon said, just be you. Just be you. So they very kindly put us up in a hotel the night before because it was an early start the next morning. And my husband was with me. He wasn't coming into the room with me, and he could feel I was nervous. And I've got um, all my little things that I was taking with me, like, candles and things like that, and all kinds of things, and incense, because that's what I used to do in the office. So I walk into this room and I could hear so many people. And Louise had a PA called Helen, and I said to Helen, "My goodness, Helen, there sounds a lot of people in that room. I'm thinking there's going to be 10 people, yeah, 5, 10 people." And she said, "It's our quarterly HR strategy meeting across the
Yeah.
group." Okay. I had no idea because Louise hadn't shared this with me. And all of a sudden I can hear lots and lots of people. Okay. So she said, "Louise won't be long, and she'll introduce you." So I'm getting more nervous by this point, if I'm honest with you, Dean. And I go into this room and there must have been 100 to 150 people. And it blew me away. And on a screen, this enormous screen, was my quotes. And I was so shocked. And they were just on a reel going round. 3 years of quotes that had shared. What Louise had done is she'd then shared them with her HR team, and they shared them with their people. And it blew me away. It wasn't about me, it's about the energy.
Mm.
Yeah. So I had the most magical morning. I didn't do one meditation, I did probably half a dozen. Yeah. And it was to be able to give my wisdom to the HR team so that if they chose, they could then share it and implement it with their teams. Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the end, I decided to do a chant. And I'd been thinking about this all the way up in the car. It was really playing on my mind because when I chanted, it was really powerful. Yeah, I love to chant. And I haven't done it for a while actually, but I love to chant. And I finished the morning session by saying, "I don't know how this energy from this chant will impact people." And from nowhere came, "It might make you laugh or it may make you cry. I don't know how you're going to react from an energetic perspective from this experience." So I sat there and I chanted for probably 10 minutes and I just drifted into the energy. And when I opened my eyes, there was people really sobbing. There was people hysterical with laughing. It was the most bizarre and beautiful experience dancing together. Yeah, that's energy, you
Mm.
know? And as I was about to leave, my friend Louise said, "I would like you to meet this young lady." And I met her. Beautiful young lady. I think her name was Emma. I think her name was Emma. And she shared with me that she'd just lost her granddad and that actually she was off work because it had upset her so much. She was absolutely broken-hearted.
Mm.
And she said, "For some reason, I felt compelled to come today. And I've driven, I think it was about an hour's drive." She said, "I've driven this morning not knowing why until today. And today something moved in me and I feel amazing." She
Mm.
said, "I sat," and it was in the meditation, not the chant. She said, "I sat in your meditation." She said, "And I felt so much love from my granddad that I know that everything is amazing where he now is. And now I can move forwards. Thank you." That
Mm.
wasn't me, Dean. That was the energy.
Yeah.
That was the energy.
Sure. And that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that. And I think we've just created an album which is Feel Good Rewire. It's all about music that's going to make you feel good in a
Love it.
nostalgic era. So taking like the 70s, 80s, 90s, so mixture through kind of guitar solos and pop music and grunge and garage and all these different genres of music that people might relate to as a sound, with positive lyrics, because what you put in your mind. But one of those tracks is called Magnetic, and one of the lines is, "What you bring to the room is what the room gives back," and that's the energy for me that defines the kind of the energy, what you bring is what you get. And so if you bring chaotic energy, you get chaotic energy. If you bring loving energy, you get loving energy. If you bring,
Absolutely.
so and you bounce off other people, and there's something that is science about that. They say if you put a load of women in the room together, that their premenstrual cycles align. And
Absolutely.
if you put like five very super successful people together and one that's not so successful, they align with the super
Yes.
success. And likewise, you put someone super successful and you start hanging around people who are not, they align and you become
Oh,
less successful. It's that energy that kind of um, is undescribed. And I think I could probably share a similar story of a journey that I went on. So in my upbringing, so I think a lot of for me the onboard computer that we all carry around is made up when you're kind of years 1 to 10. What you see, monkey do, and that's very
yeah.
hard to change. And one of the problems I think where people try to wrestle with their chaotic brain is that in order to do that and to become from a centered, balanced, knowing space and loving space, is actually quite hard when you're, in that chaotic space, because you've got to wrestle the beast and you've got to change the onboard computer. And there's a journey to go through there. I probably around 4 years ago, I met my partner, Fernando, and Fernando was what he calls very spiritual. And I come from an upbringing where my onboard computer is that's woo woo. Like, what an idiot! Stay away from him. He's weird. That kind of energy is what my family are kind of. So. And I've become this anomaly to that because I went on a journey with Fernando where I started watching and listening to things that, well, it made sense to me. Like, it made sense to me, like energy and meditation and affirmations and trying to be consciously aware of also then the subconscious.
Yeah.
And so I went on this reprogramming my subconscious mind. And the journey from where I was then to where I am now, I mean, in so many different ways, I'm a completely different individual, like completely rewired. And it was so difficult to get to there and to wrestle with that. Every night I went to sleep to this reprogramming your subconscious mind track. Every day I did meditations, affirmations. I invested in that. Nothing was more important than that. Um,
Wonderful.
and over a long period of time, I feel like I changed. And today I'm fundamentally different in so many different ways than the person. I think I call it my old self is dead. And there's this someone that is, I think, much more beautiful, much more powerful, much more useful in the world than previous. But it took me on a journey actually to Tbilisi, where we do some business and we had some staff. And I found myself setting up a coaching group, which was it was a Joe Dispenza group discussion
Yeah.
to start up with, and it was just a discussion and a group of people. We didn't know how many people would come, and we just thought if we advertised it, there was a business coach and a personal coach. She was like a marriage coach, religious coach, and she had this center, the Open Door Center, and so she put it on her Instagram and her Facebook, and 30 people turned up. And so we're then having a discussion, and different people, introduce them all, find out about their lives, and they all had the one thing. The reason why they came was because they realized they wanted to do something. They needed help to achieve, and it was different for every other person. Maybe one, it was a relationship. Maybe one, it was, career aspirations, all those kind of things. Um, and so my job then was to all of a sudden become this coach of my journey that I'd gone on and the things that I could help others with, and to try to do that. And so for 20 weeks, every Wednesday, every evening, I stood up in front of this group of people. And eventually we had to change the discussion because after 4 or 5 weeks, just talking about Joe Dispenza became, so we started talking about Tony Robbins, and then we started talking about, and we started going down different journeys. And then it started as, well, let's talk about, the shadow work, and let's talk about the circle of life, and let's talk about just trying to help people in all these different areas. And it made me realize how far that I'd come on that journey. And talking about that and how and realizing how many people's lives that could touch, and
Yeah.
also realizing how difficult it was, because we have people who turned up on week 1 and by week 10 they're saying, but I just can't do it, I'm struggling. And that's okay, because if you're
It
going to
is.
change your onboard computer, it probably is going to be a struggle first for a long period of time before it becomes a habit and a new you. So lots of techniques we talked about there, but the reason I want to have some lovely conversations with people like yourselves is like, because there's so much within there, isn't there? Like
Yeah.
meditation. If we talk
Yeah.
about meditation
Yeah.
as a subject, that's so powerful for me. Like if I feel like if I don't meditate of a morning and bring myself into that sense of brain and heart cohesion, and then how I go about my day has such a big impact for me. And I know others will be different, but how do you practice meditation? How have you practiced meditation? How important has that been for you?
It's been a big part of my life. It's been a big part of my life from, gosh, I can't even remember when I started to meditate, so many years ago. And the style of meditation has changed as I have. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. The what I do now today is my husband and I both meditate together. And we take our dog in the morning. We walk by the ocean. We have a bench by the ocean, and this bench, there's lots of benches, by the ocean as we're walking, but it's this particular bench. It's the energy, it's the vibration from it. That's how I feel. And we walk down and we just sit on this bench, and our doggy goes into meditative state with us too. And we sit there and we close our eyes and we fall into the light, as I would call. I don't know if fall into the light is the right word, but we enter the light. And in that moment, we are totally present. We
Mm,
are part of everything. That is where the oneness sits for me.
mm.
You may do that for 5 minutes or 25 minutes, but the experience is still the same. And for me, meditation carries an energy that actually other people experience with you, even if they have not been the person to meditate. We used to see that all the time in the business because it was always voluntary. So
Mm.
we'd always have people that meditated every morning because it was always voluntary. But for those that either didn't believe or just didn't want to do it that day, or the things were going on in the world, for those that did do it, that energy would travel.
Mm.
It's a
Yeah.
bit, it's a bit like another way of thinking about it. It's going off a bit on meditation, but you can be walking around down a street and you can feel somebody's energy and it's really not good. You don't know
Yeah.
that person, you've never met that
And
person,
vice versa. You can
and
walk into a
vice
room and
versa.
go, whoa, that's
That's right, exactly. So for me, you know, that's really, it's all about the energy. So
mm,
my meditation, sometimes I could sit for, I've done silent meditations with Simon Bailey for 3 days with a group of people. And it's
mm,
been the most difficult experience of my life. I've wanted to run away from the center when I've been there for 3 days because your mind gets hold of everything. So when you
mm.
can't talk for 3 days to nobody, yeah, and my husband and I have travelled this journey together. So we've always had separate rooms when we've gone on to retreats, because you need your own space, your own
I
energy.
love that. What a great experience.
Fantastic. We've always shared it, and always encourage each other when the other hasn't wanted to do it, because we know when we don't want to do it, that's when the breakthroughs come.
I had a really fabulous conversation the other day with a guy who coaches CEOs. So he's kind of a um, not SME CEOs, like big CEOs, and coaches them. And he's an X1 himself. And we were having this conversation and he was talking to me about a retreat that he's planning, and he's planning to take them, I think it was Argentina or somewhere, and taking people to a mountain. And the idea is that they start at the bottom of the mountain. It's a 7-day retreat, um,
Fab.
costing a lot of money, but when
Yeah.
to most people, but actually in reality, it's probably less than 10% of those type of CEOs' salaries. And so investment into what you get back from that. And then they
Absolutely.
go on that journey and they go into, so I find things like that just amazing. And it would be wonderful if we could educate more people to understand that there is a journey they could go on in their lives, you know?
Absolutely. And when people are ready, they will come forwards. I'll
Yeah.
share. I had, oh, it was a lovely, lovely gentleman from Newcastle, and amazing. And I spoke to him in my company, in my value creation business. I'd spoke to him for maybe 4 or 5 months on the phone, never met him. And he'd had a really bad experience with the company, and he wanted to grow his business. He was coming to retirement, and his health wasn't brilliant either.
Mm.
And he wanted to build it to sell it. Yeah. So I was really there to support him, not looking to actually do business with him. I just wanted to guide him. And one day after 4 or 5 months, he said, "Oh, Heather, I can't do that lovely Newcastle accent, but I do love it." He said, "I want to come and meet you." He said, "I
Mm.
want to tell me, but I want to come and spend some time with you in your office." So he came. His name was Ron. Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic fella, right, Ron? And he came and we spent half a day together, if not a little bit more, just talking about life, and just being in an energy that was beautiful, that we were both dancing together. And at the end of the conversations that we had over this morning, I'd shared with him, he wanted to know about me, not just about the business. And I shared that I meditated with the team, and all that. And he said, Heather, he said, would you meditate with me? Now, this fella would have been the last person I would have thought that ever wanted to meditate.
Yeah.
I said, of course I will, Ron. I said, but sometimes I said, I can just fall into it, and I don't know how long I'm going to be into it, because I was at that stage at that time. He said, it doesn't matter, Heather. He said, I'll go with it. I'd just love to do it. Right. So we went into this meditation, and we were about an hour. Right. And I came out of it, and actually I couldn't bring Ron out of it for another good 5 minutes. He was way deep into it. Right.
Mm.
Way deep into it. And he came out of it and he said, I have no idea what just happened, Heather. I've got no idea what just happened. And I said, go with your flow, Ron, you'll be fine. So he said to me that he was a worrier, and he said he'd worried all his life about everything. And on the way home, he wasn't worrying about anything. Something had happened to him with his being, his energy that had connected. And he said, all of a sudden I've stopped worrying. I don't know where that's come from. So his daughter, who suffered terribly with anxiety, she was only a young lady, suffered really badly. She saw the difference in her dad.
Mm.
She saw the difference in her dad, and she asked her dad if he would meditate with her like I had with him. Yeah. So they started doing it together,
Mm.
and it helped her anxiety. And then he had a major heart operation. And he said he knows that because of how energetically he felt, it helped him to heal,
Mm.
because he wasn't worrying, and how much better he felt in himself. So I believe that when people are ready, they step forward. Yeah.
I believe so too. And I think it's that there is a readiness, and people who don't already do or practice meditation, or are not aligned with energy or open or awake to that. And if we can, the reason we set up the attract, align, and achieve So we've basically, what we set up for people who are listening, they don't actually even know. So we've set up some social channels. They're called Attract, Align, and Achieve, where we'll have on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. There's no agenda to this. There's currently nothing to sell on this. There's no courses. There's no trips. There's no. It's effectively just a space to kind of talk about, how you attract, how you become magnetic to opportunities, how you align, so
Yeah,
your brain and heart coherence, and how we all achieve, and that can mean something completely different for everybody. Like I loved when you were talking about the meditation side of things. So when I'm meditating, and there's a kind of, you said you went into the light kind of thing, and
yeah,
I have this thing when I'm meditating. I do variations of them, but most of them do have connecting with kind of like almost like a source, if you like. So one of them is literally imagining that there's just light at the end of the room, and then stepping into that, and then you're not a body, you're not a human, you don't have roles, you are just part of the
the
light,
oneness.
if you like. And
Yeah,
just sitting in that and being a part of that is incredibly calming. And I don't
yes.
know, just has a feeling when I haven't done it, when I don't do it, I can feel I don't know, it's like the only way I could describe it is like um anxiety, depression, those kind of feelings. If you could bottle them and feel them, they can creep in. If I don't do it for a week, they do creep in, because
Yes.
because I'm doing so much, it's very difficult to just accidentally be aligned. And so for me, that I find that balance. So that's the reason we've got those channels, and why I want to have these conversations on here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I spoke to people for the last 8 months about, I want to do this on Build with Dean. I want to have this on my channel. I want to create an album of feel-good music where if people listen to these 12, 15 tracks, that it would only be positive stuff going into their mind, and somehow that would subconsciously have an effect.
Absolutely.
And I said I want to do meditation tracks, and I want to do, videos around like shadow work, videos around how you know, just different concepts that people might not work with day to day. And most of the people that I talk to, who are probably not as aligned with me with energy, said, you can't do that. Like you're in a business space, like that's a business channel, like you're a, you, and so for ages I sat with that, and I thought, you know what? I can do whatever I want, because if
Oh,
one person you benefit,
look at Steve Jobs. There's a couple of things to consider. Is
are
Steve
you
Jobs?
comparing Steve Jobs to me?
You're amazing. I love
Ah,
you. I listened on my audiobook to Steve Jobs' biography, and the one
mm,
thing he used to do with his management team before he made any big decisions, if my memory serves me right, was
mm,
meditate.
yeah,
They had to sit and create that space. Yeah.
yeah,
It happens in businesses, in amazing businesses. Yeah. When I was sharing with you about Louise earlier, Louise hadn't told the board that she'd invited me to the HR strategy meeting.
mm,
But she'd sent me the email the following day or a couple of days later to say it was quite a difficult culture in that
mm,
business. It was enormous business and there was lots of different energies and it wasn't always the best energies to be in. And she said the whole business made a transition from that moment, from when that energy changed. They took their energy back, the HR partners, into the business, and the culture changed literally overnight,
mm.
started to
I
change.
could I can imagine.
And when she spoke to the board about what had happened in the experience, the board said to her, you might not be aware of this because she was quite new to the business at the time, but when we make big decisions, we sit and meditate together. That's amazing.
Mm,
So there are people doing this, right? I I don't know if it's a question.
mm,
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a question, but it's something that I feel I want to share with you. So I'll just share it and we'll go with the flow. When I sit in that space, yeah, my question, which is, who is the observer? Yeah, who is the observer? And we do a lot of energy work with Simon and have Simon Bailey for many years on this subject because it's a big subject. Some
Mm,
people naturally can't even understand what I'm talking about, but that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. But when we sit, you could be sitting with me now and you could be talking in your head, thinking lots of things, even though you're looking and you're talking to me. Yeah.
yeah.
But who's observing? And that's my real, it just lights my cells up when I sit and I think about that. Because our humanness does have fear,
Mm,
does have anxiety, does love, all those emotions that we have as a human being. We all share the same emotions, maybe not at the same time on the same day. But
mm,
when you are in that space, who's observing? So
sure.
your meditation can help you to evolve. It can help you to change generational consciousness. Yeah, because this is our human form. And
Mm.
then we have the energy.
And also, as you know, slowing down that much can bring inspiration that you know you can't, things come to you. I think you talked to me before about you experience downloads. I have some of the best ideas or moments when I'm not 100 miles an hour. Um, and we live in a
Oh,
world that sees us run that way. I say that actually, we live in a Western world that sees us run that way. And I think
yes.
that I see a lot of like people who then move to places like Vietnam or Bali or you know, Africa, or
Yeah.
so that they can move to a quieter space. And it's interesting that as a, you know, as a concept, because w do we often sit the beast down?
All of my creativity and downloads come between 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning. Always.
Mm,
So that's when I am at my absolute best from creating. Yeah. And I can't even remember some of the things that I have created. I shared that with you on your WhatsApp and I shared it on LinkedIn, a message for humanity. Yeah.
mm,
I woke up one early hours of the morning a few weeks ago. I was so excited. And this is how my downloads come. I was so excited and I just sat at my PC and I don't know if I was there 10 minutes, an hour, I have no idea. And when I, as I would say, opened my eyes, that's what I've created.
mm,
That for me was me connecting to the collective consciousness. So
yeah.
that message wasn't a message from me about humanity and how we need to protect it. It came from a greater source than me. I
Mm,
was just the vehicle for it to come.
mm. Love that.
It's amazing.
I remember a really good interview or conversation, which was actually with Jay Shetty and Madonna. Um, and
Oh, I
obviously,
love them. Yeah,
Madonna
yeah,
being probably one of the most recognizable names on the planet.
yeah. Her journey's been incredible, hasn't it? I've watched all the videos.
Yeah,
I think you may
absolutely.
have shared it with me, actually. I think you may
And me, and I probably watched all her concerts as well. But that's
have.
another story anyway. Um,
Yeah.
her and Cher. No,
I love,
so the but this video was really interesting because she brought on her kind of spiritual guide or guru,
yes,
whatever
I
you want to
watched
call
it.
him as well. And what I really liked was her way of explaining. So Jay had asked a kind of a really deep question around why she felt that she never went off the rails in some
Mm.
ways that some of the other artists had, and she didn't have the same struggles with, you know, drink and drugs and alcohol. And there's often with the most amazing superstars in the world, and you have a look, there's often stuff that you know, surrounds that because it's a lot to channel and to deal with.
Yes.
And in this conversation, she was describing how, you know, that was all to do with her. So for her, it's Kabbalah.
Yes.
um, and how she channeled it in a way that it wasn't about her. It was about that she was given this way to reach the world, and
Yes.
that it was channeling a greater thing than herself. But that calmed her. That
Mm.
gave her gratitude, which I think is an incredible thing as well. That's another thing that every day I have to remind myself what I'm grateful for, because sometimes I forget and go into this chaotic space. But for her, it was similar to that, where she was constantly grounding herself and realizing that it wasn't about her and her
Yeah.
fame. It was about channeling a greater thing that she could do and bring to
Absolutely.
people.
Absolutely. My journey with Capsule has been like a heartbeat, Dean. It's been up and down, you know, finding the investment, personally, and having experiences with developers and people that, have took us on a journey. And I don't mean, I don't see any, never have done, no experience for me is
Mm,
negative. Yeah, it's
yeah.
all about that journey. And
But difficulty on the journey, that you're expending
it's,
energy with
but
them, yeah.
those experiences are gifted to you for a reason. And we have to
Mm,
embrace it because nothing's impossible. But never once have I wavered that this is Catch You for me isn't about me. When I close my eyes, Catch You at home, I just see millions of people all over the world. I see
mm,
the contribution to humanity that Catch You brings because we live in such a disruptive, crazy world. And we
mm.
need peace, not just peace in the world, peace in our heart. Well, our heart should always feel filled with love, joy, and happiness. Yeah, we need inner peace. We should. And to me, I see capture as a collective consciousness that will contribute to humanity. Anyway, I won't go on about it.
I love the way that you've put that, and also kudos for doing that, because sometimes we do things. I was thinking the same thing. That's the reason, not that I think I'm Madonna, but the attract, align, and achieve is about me giving as much energy and time as I can to give people the opportunity
Yeah,
to have a better life, to do some of the things that we're talking about and that we'll bring to those channels. But similar to like your capture side of things, like the Gate project that we've set up, which is almost a social impact, completely charitable. We make no money from that. All time and money to date has been invested, um, and is a cost of time and money to do that. And we got together in December, and the back of a fag pack stuff. We want to help African countries to teach them with the skills of tomorrow, and then make them so valuable to the Western world that actually it's a match of, the Western world would have to pay 10 times the amount to get that kind of talent. But actually, it can improve the lives of these Africans over here. So we did that. We come around this. This is what we want to build. And now we're in a space where, we placed all five of the first six interns that we took through that journey. We trained them for 2 months on agentic AI and generative engine optimization, and then we placed them towards the beginning of May. So they've been in for 5 weeks, some of them, um,
yes,
and it's a 3-month internship journey, right? And
yeah,
a
lovely.
couple of weeks ago, someone said to me, "What PR have you done around this? Where do you talk about this? Like, um, why are you doing it?" And started asking me questions, and I thought, oh, do you know what? Actually, we don't even talk about it. We don't even share it. We don't even, and there's the impact that that could have. And someone
Yeah,
said to me, have you thought about scaling that? Have you thought
yes,
about potentially now where your business is looking at investors? And I was thinking, no, but probably we could do so much good with that, because
yes,
there's a huge need, and they could be just as skilled and a lot less costly um, than Western workers.
yeah,
Someone said to me, would you work with the UK government and train young people? And I discussed that with my daughter. Should I do that as well? And we're like, there's only so much that I can do, right? But that would
yeah,
be funded and that would be for profit. And she said to me, do you know what? I think that the Africans that you're working with would value love and appreciate the opportunity that you're giving them probably a lot more than me and my friends. The energy of what
Yes.
you're building is like amazing. I would just keep doing what you're doing. And that was her advice to me. And I thought, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with young people in the UK. It's just that it's such a different offering. But the reason I wanted to give that, it's a bit like you with Capsule. There's a bigger opportunity actually that gets so much more involved. But kudos to you because you are putting in all that energy still at the front end, and now you can give it to people, and that's wonderful.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like I love wealth. I love wealth. And for
Hmm.
me, I have taken Catch-U. It's cost us an awful lot of money to get where we are, and I say
Mm,
that in the most positive light. Yeah, in the most positive light. But for me to achieve what we need to achieve to reach so many people, we need wealth.
mm,
Yeah. And that's clarity for me because I can carry on putting 100,000, 200,000, whatever it might be, the numbers don't matter, into Catch-U and grow organically. Or I am in a unique position, there's no other app like Catch-U CSR or Catch-U at home. Or I can create that wealth through investment and reach people, millions of people in a shorter period of time. And from that profit, I can then put more wealth into supporting amazing causes. I was speaking to Richard
mm.
the SRA, and he was telling me the other day, I'd never heard of the charity called Deborah. Have you heard of it? No,
No, I don't think so.
no, I hadn't. I hadn't. And the only way he could describe it, and he shared it with me this morning actually, it's this, it's genetic. And I can't remember the full name of it, but I think he termed it EB. I don't know if you've heard of EB. But what it is, children are born like this. Okay. And he said, if you imagine ever having shingles, but
Mm,
on a scale that was so painful that your body and your mind just can't take it. These babies are born like that, and they only live to really being teenagers normally. But they live in pain from the moment that they enter this world that we live in.
mm,
And straight away, I said to my husband Simon, so within our foundation, the Catch-U Foundation, we support Deborah
mm,
because no child should be born into this earth suffering until the day that they die.
mm,
Yeah, you can only do that if you create so much wealth and give back. Give forwards, not back. Give forwards.
mm.
That's what it's all about.
So if you're an investor and you're watching this conversation, or you're listening, if you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Apple or Spotify, well, you've got a couple of really great investment opportunities here. The capture, well, or then there's the Gate project as well, but also social impact.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so but that is you're right. It's about we could do that on a scale that helps 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 people.
Yeah.
But actually there is something there that scales to solving a huge problem that people have
Yes.
and with a lot more people and helps people, impacts their lives, um,
Yes.
puts them in the top 10% of earnings in their own countries, which allows them to have wealth to then
Absolutely.
change lives, you know. So yeah, it's true.
Absolutely. Money is an energy.
Money is an energy. It's not
Money
the
is an
source of
energy.
evil as we're sometimes taught.
Absolutely. But we can do so much good with it.
Yeah,
So much good with it. So
sure.
much good.
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably going to be parts to this, so maybe we'll have a part two at some point where we
I
can
would
go
love
into
that. Love
other
that.
areas. Um, yeah, and for our audience, are there any nuggets of wisdom that you think we should leave our audience with?
God.
And it's okay if not, because I think we've given a lot of value, just an open conversation for them anyhow. But
I think what wisdom would I leave. Gosh, there's so much in there. I think, well, I think we should all live our best lives, right? And that really is always led by the heart. The heart will never let us down. It will always be our guiding star, is the truth. Yeah. And we should always love what we do. You know, we're so gifted just to be here. And we take it so much for granted.
And be kinder to ourselves. Be
Yes,
so much
absolutely.
kinder.
We should love ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. We love others, but very often do we put our arms around ourselves and say, thank you for this amazing life. I love you too.
Yeah,
I will look
absolutely.
after you.
And take
Yeah,
a break every now and then. Pamper yourself.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And my favourite word is choice.
Mm.
That's my favourite word. Next to love, because I love the word love naturally. But
Yeah.
it's choice. We all have choices. And I think we can we can do anything if we put our minds to it. I truly
And
believe
so to people
that.
watching, if you want to attract, align, and achieve, and you really want to, to give yourself choice and to go on that journey, go and check out the album on YouTube. I'm going to
Yeah.
put some meditation tracks on there because I mean I don't know if anyone's going to want to listen to my dulcet tones, but I would like to do some meditation tracks so that people
Oh,
have
that's
them
lovely.
within the channel. And so you can then go and practice, and maybe you could listen to me every morning. But there we go. Um,
Absolutely. That sounds beautiful. I love that. I
and
love
if
that.
you and if you do know anyone that wants to come out onto the channel or to do, a social collaboration or to talk about, retreats that they have, any of that kind of stuff, then you can
Fab.
contact us and we'll get them on.
It's awesome. And definitely look up Simon Bailey because he should definitely be having this conversation with you because he is
I
amazing.
think so. We did, we talked about that previously. So reach out, share, get him on. Either we'll have both of
Yes,
you or just Simon. But and for our audience, I think any value that we can give, as always, is the aim of the game. It's why we do what we do. So um, if you're up for that and you want more conversations like this or business conversations, or it could be about finance, funding, education, CSR.
absolutely.
Then
Absolutely.
subscribe to the channel, and follow us and support us and come back for the future conversations too.
Fabulous. I've loved
Heather,
everything.
and until the next time, I'll see you in the next one.
I look forward to it. Namaste.